Welcome to this new episode, brought to you by Vault of 15, your #1 top 15 list maker. Once filled with laughter and color, these places now stand silent, twisted metal and broken dreams left behind. Across the globe, forgotten theme parks have become ghost towns of joy, overrun by vines, shadows, and whispers of what used to be. These are 15 creepy abandoned theme parks around the world. Number 15. Dogpatch USA, Arkansas, USA. Once a cheerful family destination deep in the Ozark Mountains, Dogpatch USA opened in 1968, inspired by the Lil Abner comic strip. Wooden cabins, trout ponds, and a small mountain railway gave the place a rustic charm. But underneath the laughter, cracks were already forming. Financial mismanagement, lawsuits, and poor attendance dragged the park into chaos. By the 1990s, Dogpatch had fallen completely silent. Nature took over. Moss climbed over water wheels, and fog settled where carnival lights once shone. Explorers who wander there today speak of eerie stillness and faint echoes of banjo music drifting through the trees. Broken animatronics grin from the dark, and old ticket booths stand frozen mid-transaction, as if time simply gave up. The land has changed hands several times since, but every attempt to revive Dogpatch failed, as though the park itself refuses to wake up. Dogpatch USA remains one of America's most haunting reminders that even laughter can die. Number 14. Dunblobbin, Mr. Blobby Theme Park, England. In the quiet English countryside of Somerset once stood Dunblobbin, the bizarre and short-lived theme park dedicated to Britain's pink, polka-dotted television character, Mr. Blobby. It opened in 1994 at the height of Blobby mania, drawing crowds who came to laugh, dance, and meet the clumsy mascot in a world painted entirely in bubblegum pink. But the joy was fleeting. When the fad collapsed, so did the park. The gates closed, the laughter stopped, and what remained slowly rotted beneath the rain. Today, the pastel buildings are covered in black mold, the paint peeled into strange organic patterns, and Blobby's face, once goofy and cheerful, stares from shattered walls like a deranged ghost of pop culture. Explorers who sneak inside describe the smell of damp costumes and the eerie sound of dripping water echoing through hollow halls. It's as if the entire place became a parody of its former self. Cheerful absurdity transformed into silent madness. Number 13. Land of Oz, North Carolina, USA. High atop Beech Mountain in North Carolina lies the haunting remains of the Land of Oz, a Wizard of Oz theme park that opened in 1970. At first, it was pure magic. Visitors strolled down a real yellow brick road, met Dorothy and the Tin Man, and rode the hot air balloon through clouds of mist. Then in 1975, a fire destroyed much of Emerald City. The park closed a few years later, leaving mannequins melted, houses charred, and props scattered like relics from another world. For decades, the mountain grew silent. Fog rolled through the decaying gates, and Dorothy's house tilted eerily in the wind. Every year, for just a few days, the park briefly reopens for nostalgic fans. But many say the air feels heavy there, as if the ghosts of performers still walk the yellow brick road. The Land of Oz became a place where fantasy and decay blend seamlessly, a dream that never quite woke up. Number 12. Mirapolis, France. In 1987, France unveiled its grand answer to Disneyland, Mirapolis, a massive theme park outside Paris. Built around the tales of Gargantua, it was filled with whimsical castles, storybook rides, and a colossal smiling statue of the giant himself towering over everything. But joy turned to silence in less than 5 years. The crowds never came, debts piled up, and by 1991, the laughter stopped for good. Now only fragments of fairy tales remain. The giant's face cracked open, rusting rides groan in the wind, and weeds burst through cobblestone paths once meant for parades. Locals whisper that strange shadows move at dusk, and that the hollow-eyed statue of Gargantua watches anyone who dares step too close. Mirapolis was supposed to be France's happiest place. Instead, it became one of its most chilling ruins. Even in daylight, it feels like walking through the remains of a dream that never wanted to end. Number 11. Pripyat Amusement Park, Ukraine. The Pripyat Amusement Park was set to open on May 1st, 1986, a celebration of Soviet joy. 5 days before the grand opening, the Chernobyl disaster struck. The Ferris wheel, bumper cars, and carousels stood ready but were never used. Instead of laughter, the park filled with radiation and silence. Today, the yellow Ferris wheel stands frozen against the gray Ukrainian sky, a symbol of innocence lost. Children's swings creak in the wind, and rust flakes fall like ash. Nature has returned, yet the air feels haunted. Even the birds avoid landing there. Photographers who visit say their cameras glitch and static hums faintly through Geiger counters. It's one of the most famous abandoned places in the world, not because of what happened there, but because of what never did. The Ferris wheel of Pripyat never spun with joy, only with ghosts of a city that vanished overnight. Number 10. Dadipark, Belgium. In the quiet town of Dadipark, Belgium, stands what was once Europe's oldest amusement park, Dadipark. It opened in the 1950s as a joyful retreat for families, filled with simple wooden rides and laughter that echoed through the trees. But time wasn't kind to this place. As modern parks evolved, Dadipark stayed stuck in the past. Its attractions rusted, safety declined, and accidents began to happen. After a tragic incident involving a young child in 2000, the park's gates were sealed, leaving its slides and swings to rot beneath the overgrowth. Now the metal skeletons of playground rides jut from the soil like broken bones. Wind whistles through hollow tunnels, and the creaking frames groan like they still remember the weight of happier days. Local legends say the laughter never really left, that if you stand near the old water ride at dusk, you can still hear faint echoes of children's voices carried on the breeze. Dadipark is a playground long abandoned, yet somehow never fully asleep. Number 9. Takakanonuma, Greenland, Japan. Hidden deep in the fog-covered mountains of Fukushima lies Takakanonuma, Greenland, Japan's most mysterious abandoned theme park. Built in 1973, it closed abruptly only 2 years later. Officials blamed low attendance, but locals whisper of something darker, a string of unexplained accidents in an oppressive atmosphere that terrified visitors. In the 1980s, the park briefly reopened, only to vanish again, this time without warning. When explorers tried to visit decades later, many claimed the location didn't appear on any modern maps. Those who found it described a ghostly landscape, coasters draped in vines, carousel horses collapsed in the dirt, and thick mist swallowing everything in silence. Some photos from early explorers mysteriously vanished from their cameras afterward, as if the park didn't want to be remembered. Even now, Takakanonuma, Greenland feels more legend than reality, a haunting mirage where memory and myth blend together in the fog. Number 8. Joyland, Kansas, USA. For over 50 years, Joyland in Wichita, Kansas, was a bright symbol of Midwestern happiness. Its wooden roller coasters rattled through the air, and its giant smiling clown at the entrance greeted every family. But after closing in 2006, the name Joyland became almost cruelly ironic. Today, rust has eaten through the steel rides, graffiti covers every wall, and the clown's mechanical face, once animated, now sags and stares lifelessly. Locals say the place is cursed, claiming to hear calliope music at night and see the carousel spin by itself under the moonlight. Explorers who enter describe the uncanny feeling of being watched, as if something still guards the park. In 2018, a fire consumed much of what was left, sealing its fate for good. But in the ashes, the clown's face remained, blackened, cracked, and grinning eternally. Joyland is no longer joyful. It's a decaying monument to what happens when fun dies but refuses to leave. Number 7. Okpo Land, South Korea. On the cliffs of Gyeonggi Island once stood Okpo Land, a theme park that ended in tragedy. It was famous for its bright, duck-themed roller coaster, until one day in the late 1990s, one of the cars derailed, killing a young girl. The ride was never repaired. The crushed car was left exactly where it fell, and the park quietly shut down soon after. Years later, when explorers returned, they found the same duck car still hanging off the track, rusted and twisted, a ghostly reminder of that day. The rest of the park had fallen into ruin, ticket booths overgrown, lights shattered, and children's toys scattered like offerings to the dead. Okpo Land became one of South Korea's most infamous urban legends. Locals avoid it entirely, claiming it carries a curse, and that at night a faint scream echoes through the empty grounds. Whether real or imagined, the park's silence speaks louder than words ever could. Number 6. Wonderland, Beijing, China. Intended to be China's answer to Disneyland, Wonderland was once meant to be the largest theme park in Asia. Construction began in the 1990s, complete with towering castles, storybook bridges, and pastel towers rising above the farmland. But before completion, funding collapsed and the developers vanished. The fairytale kingdom was abandoned before a single child ever entered. For nearly 2 decades, the skeleton of Wonderland stood eerily intact. Castles half-built, turrets unfinished, and weeds creeping through the cobblestones. Farmers planted crops between roller coaster beams, their fields framed by decaying towers of fantasy. When the site was finally demolished in 2013, locals said they heard the faint sound of laughter echoing through the rubble. It was as if the ghosts of an amusement park that never lived were finally saying goodbye. Wonderland was never opened, yet somehow it was never truly empty. Number 5. Wonderland Eurasia, Turkey. In Ankara, Turkey, stands the colossal ruin of Wonderland Eurasia, once promoted as Europe's largest theme park. It opened in 2019 with more than 2,000 rides, robotic dinosaurs, and a towering castle meant to rival Disney's. But behind the spectacle lurked political scandal, unfinished attractions, and machinery that barely worked. Within months, the crowds vanished. Rust streaked the coasters, fountains dried up, and mechanical dragons froze mid-roar. By 2020, the park was completely shut, leaving hundreds of lifeless animatronics staring into the wind. Explorers now wander through echoing plazas where patriotic music still plays from broken speakers. At night, the wind moves through the empty dinosaur shells, making them hiss like ghosts breathing through metal lungs. Wonderland Eurasia was built to prove power and progress. Instead, it became one of the world's newest and eeriest monuments to failure. A billion-dollar dream turned into dust. Number 4. Holy Land USA, Connecticut, USA. In the hills of Waterbury, Connecticut, stands a surreal relic of faith, Holy Land USA. Built in the 1950s as a handmade recreation of biblical Jerusalem, the park once drew thousands of pilgrims. Miniature temples, crosses, and tombs filled the hillside, glowing beneath neon lights that spelled Holy Land USA. But when its creator died, the lights went out and the park decayed into silence. Today, the statues are cracked, angels have lost their wings, and faded scripture signs crumble under moss and ivy. Locals say strange lights still appear at night near the old cross, and distant hymns echo through the valley when no one is there. The site has since been partially restored, but its eerie stillness remains. Holy Land USA feels like a place where belief itself was abandoned, a spiritual amusement park caught between devotion and decay. We are now moving on to the top 3 of the list. If you have made it this far, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to Vault of 15. Number 3. Gulliver's Kingdom, Japan. At the edge of Japan's infamous Aokigahara Forest stands the eerie ruin of Gulliver's Kingdom. The park opened in 1997, dedicated to the giant from Gulliver's travels. A 147-foot statue of Gulliver lay chained to the ground, surrounded by rides and miniature buildings, but the location doomed it from the start. Built near one of the world's most tragic sites few families wanted to visit. By 2001, it was abandoned, leaving the colossal Gulliver sprawled in the dirt, his hollow eyes staring blankly toward the mountains. When the wind blows, his massive body creaks and groans, a sound both mechanical and mournful. Even explorers describe the atmosphere as oppressive, like the mountain itself remembers the sorrow beneath it. The statue was eventually dismantled, but fragments remain, concrete limbs emerging from the soil like something that tried to escape. Gulliver's kingdom was meant to inspire wonder. Instead, it became one of Japan's most unsettling ruins. Number 2. Nara Dreamland, Japan. Once called Japan's unofficial Disneyland, Nara Dreamland opened in 1961 as a near-perfect replica of the American original. It had a sleeping beauty castle, a main street, even its own monorail. But when Tokyo Disneyland opened in 1983, visitors vanished overnight. For decades, Dreamland stood empty. Rides rusted, castles cracked, and faded banners still proclaimed, "Dreams come true." Explorers found turnstiles frozen mid-spin and popcorn machines filled with dust. The abandoned castle loomed like a fairy tale turned nightmare. Security guards stopped patrolling long ago, yet people who entered said they felt watched from the windows of the castle or the shadows of the carousel. In 2016, the entire park was demolished, but the images remain among urban explorers' most haunting. Dreamland was a perfect dream that died in silence, a kingdom where fantasy decayed into something far darker. Number 1. Six Flags, New Orleans, USA. When Hurricane Katrina struck in 2005, it didn't just destroy a city, it drowned its joy. Six Flags, New Orleans, once full of laughter and lights, became a waterlogged graveyard overnight. The floodwaters rose, rides were ripped apart, and the Ferris wheel became a monument to tragedy. Years later, the park remains frozen in decay. Roller coasters are tangled in vines, arcade prizes float in stagnant pools, and the faded sign "Closed for Storm" still hangs at the entrance. Even the air feels heavier there, still, thick and suffocating with the memory of what happened. Film crews occasionally use it as a backdrop for apocalyptic movies, but locals avoid it. They say the place feels wrong. That at dusk, the screams return for a moment before fading back into silence. Six Flags, New Orleans is not just abandoned. It's haunted by an entire city's sorrow. They were built for laughter, but time had other plans. Across the world, the ghosts of joy still whisper through broken rides and overgrown paths. Some parks closed because of tragedy, others because of greed, and some, perhaps, because something darker refused to leave. We hope you enjoyed this haunting journey through forgotten worlds. Follow us for more places where silence tells the loudest stories. We hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you for watching. Brought to you by Vault of 15. The truth is in the list.